BBC. BBC Essex.
How did you get yourself onto the property ladder and get your mortgage, saving up for the deposit, all that kind of stuff? How did you do it? How easy was it? 0800 111 40 41. Skipton Building Society bringing in a new deal, which will see the return of the 100% mortgage. What do you think about that? Let's get some thoughts from Sally Mitchell now on Breakfast, who is the Essex-based mortgage mum. Sally, good morning to you.
Morning.
Morning. What do you think then about the return of the 100% mortgage?
It's quite exciting. I think it's brilliant that a large lender, a very respected lender like Skipton, are showing some innovation and thinking outside the box and really seeming to want to help those people who are stuck in the rental cycle. I mean, it's a very real problem. If you're paying a rent, it's very, very difficult to save up for a deposit.
Do you think more lenders, as you say, Skipton, pretty respectable one, they're offering or going to be offering this product? Do you think that will then set a trend for others following suit?
I think so. Yeah. I think that a lot needs to be done to help first-time buyers, and we haven't really come up with a good alternative to the old Help to Buy and ISAs. So it's time that we did start thinking about it, because the property market isn't going to change overnight. There's a lack of property, there's pressure on the rental sector, and rates, as we've seen, have gone up in the last 6 months quite considerably. And although they are starting to come down, this is the new normal. 3.5%, 4.5% is going to be the new normal for quite a long time. And that puts added pressure on affordability. So I think it's really important that these options are here.
And again, you mentioned about the demand element of this and Help to Buy, and there's rumours that might be making a bit of a comeback, having been paused, wasn't it? There's been a bit about that in the news recently. Again, we haven't got enough houses, though, have we? That's the problem, that people are, whether it's renting or trying to get on the property ladder, there's just not enough stock to meet the demand, is there? And that's the crux of the issue, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's not enough social housing, first of all. If we start from the bottom up, not enough social housing, not enough new houses being built. And of those new houses that are being built, I believe, this is purely my opinion, that there's just not enough for not the youngsters, because first-time buyers are not necessarily young anymore, but for people getting on the ladder. And interestingly, with this Skipton product, the one type of property that is excluded from their criteria is new build flats. Now, most people, that's how I started when I first got on the property market. I bought a flat, and that's often your first step. And if they're excluded, then that actually does cut out quite a lot of the stock that is available, which is a shame.
That's a very interesting point. I didn't realise that. And in terms of these sort of protections, you'll know all too well, won't you, about the financial crash and the Northern Rock situation. Part of the criticism and the fears around 100% or 125% is if your property drops in value, then you're in that sort of negative equity situation, aren't you? I mean, what protections are going to be put in place, or perhaps need to be put in place, if we're going back down that 100% mortgage route again?
Yeah, and the old 100% mortgages cast a very long shadow. And as you say, I do remember it. I had friends who lost their properties at that time as well. The one thing I'll say is that the whole mortgage market is so much more regulated and supervised now. The hoops and the things that the lenders have to jump through to get products launched is really, really rigorous. Back in the bad old days, back in 2008, it just wasn't regulated or supervised. So I feel very confident that this would not be on the market if it hadn't been absolutely dissected by a fine-tooth comb and a scalpel and pincers. It's got to be safe. There is, of course, a slight risk. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, if there is a slump, or just even a geographical one where something happens in your local area and it affects your property. Then yes, there is that risk of being in negative equity. The good thing is that it's a 5-year fix that they're offering. So I suppose that one of their thoughts is that 5 years is actually quite a nice long term to stretch it out over. So you could probably ride out any peaks and troughs and before it's time to actually change onto a different mortgage product. So there might be a little bit of protection there, but you can't get away from it. Having 100% mortgage is much more risky than having a 90 or even 95% mortgage.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? We've had sort of more broader discussions about renting versus mortgages, and we still, as a society, many of us want to aspire to try and get our own properties, don't we? As you said, a lot of people are trapped in these rental cycles. Rent is so expensive, but the goal for many people is to try and get on that ladder still, isn't it?
It is. It's a peculiar thing to the United Kingdom, I think. The saying, "An Englishman's home is his castle." We are brought up with that aspiration. You should own your own property, and it's something that young people today still aspire to. It's not quite the same on the continent. It seems to be a particularly, as I say, UK thing. But why not? We've seen our parents do it. Your home is so much more than just four walls and a door. And I think there is that element with people that if you rent, you're always under the slight cloud that you could be asked to move, or it could be made difficult for you to stay. And people resent sometimes, trying to put lots of money into their property when they don't actually own the bricks and mortar. So it's that feeling of home, that feeling of belonging, somewhere you want to bring up your family, somewhere where you feel safe, secure. It's so much more than just the property, and I think that's what we all really, really want, that feeling, which is why everyone's driven to get on the ladder.
Sally, great to talk to you. Thank you for coming on. Sally Mitchell there, the Essex-based mortgage mum. So how did you get on that ladder? How did you do it?